Morning, guys. Well, today I'm going to change out the coolant on my 1995 Vulcan. I want to thank Jacek Lucas for suggesting the topic. The truth is it's pretty hard to screw this up, but when things go south it's usually a conceptual problem. And so today I'm going to put emphasis on how the whole system works. Okay, well, let's start with some basic anatomy. Of course, the radiator is here, and behind it is a thermostat activated cooling fan. And then up here is a classical radiator cap. And then from the radiator cap is a small rubber hose that comes down here to end up in the bottom of an unpressurized coolant recovery tank right there. Now let me take you down underneath. See if I can show you this from here. That's the oil drain plug right there. This is the coolant drain plug here. And then right beside it is the weep hole. And if you ever get coolant draining out of here, what it suggests is that the mechanical seal that separates the coolant from the oil is failing. And you want to change that seal right away if you ever get that. So always have a look over here looking to see if you've got coolant draining from there. Well, college for me is a distant memory. But one thing I did learn from college is how to drink beer fast. To drink beer really quickly, what you do is you put two holes in the can, one in the bottom to drink out of and one in the top to allow air to get in. What that does is it allows the fluid to drain more quickly, and it allows undrained pockets of fluid to come completely out. And the same principle applies here. We're going to go at the radiator cap by undoing these three nuts. And we'll take this off to get a better view. And we'll take the radiator cap off, and that will allow us to drain the fluid more carefully. Okay, I've shown you this before. This hook here slides into that slot, and so you slide it the whole thing forward and then it pops off. We're going to undo the speedometer cable and the two electrical harnesses, and that way we can lift this right out of the way. Okay, so here's what it looks like. Now, hope you can read that. Never open hot. That makes sense. This hose here is hose that goes to the top of the radiator, so coolant goes in that direction. And just below the cap is the thermostat. Now, I want to draw your attention to this little hose here. This hose goes to the coolant recovery tank, that one underneath the seat. Okay, now let me ask you a question. The coolant recovery tank is here, the reservoir, and the radiator cap with the fluid entrance is up here. And so fluid in here has to make its way uphill without a pump to the top of the radiator. How does it do it? Okay, let's take the cap off. Now I'm sure it's cold, and so I'm safe to do this, but never do this if the engine's been recently used. This is the brains of the cooling system, this thing right here. This is a 10mm wrench. Let's drain the fluid off. So now you've drained the engine, but you haven't drained the reservoir. So unscrew this plastic cap here. Try not to drop it like I just did. And I use a suction device, so we're going to slide this clean plastic device down to the bottom and then suck fluid out. There's not that much fluid there. Don't forget that we're all obliged to send used coolant to a recycling facility. And don't forget to tighten this drain bolt. Remember, you don't want to strip it out. You got to tighten it with a wrench, but don't make it stupid tight. So whenever I buy coolant, I buy the concentrated, not the premixed. It's about half the price. I don't have any allegiance to the company, but it's said to be a long life coolant. There's no bias in the dealer's manual as to what type to use, so I've chosen a type that's good for all makes and models. If you use the concentrated, you absolutely must add some distilled water, not regular water or tap water or filtered water, distilled water. The cheapest place to buy this in my area is at Walmart in the food section. The total capacity of my system, the Vulcan V800, is 2.4 liters. Okay, I've mixed them as a 50-50 solution. Now, as I'm sure you'd expect, these vessels are all specifically dedicated to coolant. This is a no-spill funnel, and we'll just add it in very slowly. Now, there's a bit of a constriction down lower, and so if you add it too quickly, you're going to have coolant all over the place. But just add it in slowly. You're not going to get the whole 2.4 liters in one swig, so go real slow at the end. And as you add fluid, watch for an overflow right there, because that's where it's going to overflow if you do too fast. Now for this next bit, you don't want to overfill it, so just add a bit, but try and underfill, because you do a final fine-tuning later. And you notice that you need a special funnel to do this properly. Okay, so one way you can really screw up a system is if you fail to burp it. And what happens is you get trapped air in the system, and until you put the engine through a full heat-cool cycle, that trapped air is going to be a problem, and it'll mean that your estimation of reservoir size and filling is all off. And so what you need to do now is you need to turn the machine on. Now, looking at this system, there's probably not that much trapped air here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the engine, and I'm going to leave the cap off, and I'm going to carefully run it, watching the top here, and then filling it up as need be to keep it up at a level. Now, you don't want to run it for too long and cause everything to boil over, but you want to run it long enough so that you get rid of most of the trapped air. The remainder of the trapped air will be cleared as the engine goes through a series of heat-cool cycles over the coming weeks, but you need to do a pretty good job up front to avoid overheating the engine and causing engine damage. So I've hooked up the two electrical connectors. I'll leave the speedometer cable off for the moment, and I'm going to start the vehicle and slowly add fluid as the vehicle's running. Okay, I've added just a bit of fluid, and it's looking pretty good so far. Now the thermostat is closed, and so preferably you want to run the engine until the thermostat opens, and that allows fluid to dribble down into other parts of the engine that right now are pockets of air. While we're waiting, have a look underneath and make sure you're not getting any drips. It's probably easiest to pull the pan out, and it'll be more obvious in that situation. Okay, you don't want to wait too long because it'll boil over if you wait too long, but you can see that suddenly the coolant level is bouncing up and down, and I can feel the hose to the radiator is starting to warm up, and so I think the thermostat is at least partially open. The system now is burped well enough that it's safe to run the machine, and so over the coming days what will happen is the air bubbles that are still trapped in the system will disgorge to the overflow tank in the reservoir and then evacuate the air. And so it's worthwhile rechecking the reservoir level in the coming days just to make sure that your level is good. Now I'm going to shut the system down now. We're going to level the bike and make sure that our level at the reservoir is about right. Okay, now let's check the level. Now I've got the kickstand on a block of wood. You can do it different ways. I've done it with a level on the handlebars and use a video camera looking at this, but this is where we're at. Now you can see the meniscus, which is the level of the fluid in the reservoir, is just about at the level of the high mark, and the low mark is right down there. So high mark and the low mark, and you want to be between those two. And of course the reading we're going to get today is not going to be an accurate reading, and so you need to come back a few days later after a few heat-cool cycles and recheck it. Make sure you're right between those two marks. Say if this video helped you out and you want to see more of them, hit like or subscribe or leave a comment. I'd love to hear what others say. Thanks for watching.